Nice moves,
Good morning.
everybody. Good
Good.
morning, Savannah, Ben.
And look at you going in the
Good
morning.
morning.
What's that?
I
So
needed
that'll get
that
you
this
going in the
morning.
morning. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I enjoy that little tunage there for us. Well, welcome to Ops Experts Club. I'm looking forward to being back in the rhythm of us three hanging out together. Aaron can go do his own thing, whoever he wants. I really enjoy us three as a nice little triage. Triage? Trio. I guess
A trio
trio.
that triages.
There we go. There we go.
We do
Well,
triage, it's true.
yeah. Well, I don't want to do all the talking because we didn't come here to listen to me. We came here to listen to somebody super awesome that I have recently gotten to know through working with one of our clients. You guys are going to appreciate as well. His name is Marc Jeffrey. And currently, in the way that we met him, he's the Chief Strategy Officer for Dharius Daniels. I know he does other things as he will describe to us here shortly. But welcome aboard, Marc. How are you today?
Hey, Taryn. Hey, everybody. Good to
Nice to
be
meet you,
here.
Mark.
Great to
Are
see
we
you. I know we're in the middle of a,
triaging
of a
right? We're
what's that?
triaging. Is that what we're doing? Is it now not a
Well, now
triage?
I think we're quadraging. We've switched.
Quadraging.
So does that mean my title can also be like Chief Strategery Officer? Would that work too? Since we're
Under
using
those rules, that
okay.
is safe. Well, I know we're in the middle of trying to launch a challenge with Dr. Dharius Daniels and his team, so appreciate you joining us today. I know challenge launches are fun, as we've all been in the middle of them. Um, they're just sprints right until you start, and then they're sprints until you end.
Yeah.
So, Marc, tell us a little bit about yourself. What are you doing? Who's it for? How'd you get there? Story
Yeah.
time.
So first of all, it's great to be on the call with everyone, and I was so excited when Aaron told me about it. Then he told me he would be not on the call, so appreciate that, Aaron. Thanks so much. But it tells where I rank high up on the totem pole here. But yeah, so a little bit about me. Obviously meeting Taryn is with my role with Dharius Daniels. He and I have been working together in some kind of capacity for, I would say, about 12 years. It started off, I work a lot in the publishing industry. So um, being kind of the liaison with authors and publishers, providing the marketing arm. So he and I have worked on, I think, 3 books together. So that was kind of my introductory with him. But I also own my own business, Legacy Consulting Group, and we're a digital marketing agency. We focus on social media management. Really, strategy is our key. Helping clients make whatever their next best step is. A lot of times when we get involved with clients, it's they just really don't know exactly what's next, and so we try to help clarify that, especially in the digital space. Really, what's next for them. So we do everything from websites to Facebook ads, social media ads, video production, and then just overall strategy. And kind of what I do for Dr. Daniels in that capacity is over the last year and a half, we've really grown into everything from what you're talking about with challenges, 3 days, 5-day challenges. We have continuity programs that we've now just launched our second, to where those are monthly subscription programs. Those are completely, a different animal than the challenges and all of that. So really with being newer in this space, specifically in the consulting area and the coaching area, just helping strategize what's next for that organization, really managing. It's grown so fast so quickly, which is a lot of the reasons why collab team comes along beside us to help us kind of manage and scale that growth. So that's just a little bit about me and what I'm doing.
I don't know. I had no idea you're in the publishing industry. That's really cool.
Yeah, so that's been I kind of, and I'll get into this a little bit later if we get to talk about it. But one of my first real jobs, like real like corporate executive jobs, was working for a large nonprofit. It's really a ministry, but it's Bishop T.D. Jakes out of Dallas. And one of the things that I learned quickly was that it had a lot of different tentacles, and I was really worried about, like, my lane was social media at that part, but it spilled into, he writes a lot of books, and if you're going to work in that kind of arena, you have to pick that up. So I was really blessed to be in a lot of rooms with him where he talked about what it takes for an author to publish books, how to work in conjunction with a publisher, where a publisher is really strong, where the author needs to be strong. So I learned a lot of that. And that's really kind of how Dr. Daniels and I started working together, was through our books. So I'm not sure if I'll write a book, but I do go to bookstores every now and then. And then usually there's like a blurb in one of his where he like says a thank you. And I just go in there to remind myself, like, my name is in this bookstore somewhere. It's got my name like in the very back page of it, but at least I made it. So I'm happy about that.
Wow. So which would you say is the more difficult part, writing the book or getting the book published?
Well, and I've actually been on both ends of it. So on one of my clients, I was a ghostwriter for them. So really helping them structure it, come up with all of the content, the stories. And it really just depends. I mean, some authors are different. Dr. Daniels tends to not have a ton of edits on the back end. So he really knows where he wants to go. He spends a lot of time on the front end really writing. And so I've been in some situations where the author has good stories and good content, but the editor goes through and it's like a sea of red when they come back. And, I mean, it can be very deflating. You get that back and you're like, I'm ready to quit. Like, cause it's just red. It just looks like they murdered the whole book. And then you have some that are a little easier than others. And so I think the back end, it's changed so much as far as what we're able to do. So it used to be just about placement, but now it's like, what do your pre-order numbers look like? How are you giving people packages on Amazon that make them want to pre-order? So a lot of times it's not even just, do you want to pre-order? It's coming up with an entirely separate offer that gives someone free content for pre-ordering the book, because that pre-order signals everything else that comes along with it. So I think the back end is a little bit harder, but I don't author a lot of books. So if you ask the author, they would probably tell you actually writing it is harder. So.
Super interesting.
Yeah, and it seems like with social media now too, they want a following behind you. It's like, okay, how many people know who you are? How many people follow you? Do you already have a name in the space? And that really leads to them saying yes or no and publishing it.
And sometimes it's even greater than the content of the book. Being able to, I mean, I think that's why a lot of times I meet authors, they want to get to the end result quicker, but it's like all of the goodwill stuff that you do in the downtimes between your offers and your books and whatever you're offering. It's that free goodwill content that builds your social media. That's really what puts you in a position for a publisher to really want to take you seriously and go all the way with you, is because they see that you're able to lift it on your side as well. So it's a huge piece of getting published now.
I'm curious. So would you say then, like, the strategy, like pre-publishing, like, would you say those pre and post publishing, does just about as much strategy go into like building up the book and the brand and the social, and then after it's published, like getting people to know that the book is out there? Like, is it about the same weight in both of those?
Yeah, I honestly think it's a little heavier pre, because there's a lot of nuances. Like, you don't want to jump out too early, right? You put out a pre-order 6 months before the book launches, it's going to take you a lot of time to keep that sustained, right? So you have to do a lot of what we call, and I get this from Dr. Daniels, he's really big on this, is what we would call seeding. You know, basically throwing hints out along the way that get people's interest in whatever program that you're going for. A lot of times people wait until the program is launched and then they start talking about it. So it's the same way about a book. Is there are ways that you can talk about that subject without blatantly coming out saying, hey, this is a part of my book or my offer. But in the same, so the pre is really important. But the post, a lot of times what we see in authors too is everything is toward the release date. and then you don't hear anything about the book after it's launched. It's like, okay, we've been working, because it can feel like for a published book that you've been doing it for a year. I mean, literally, that's when some of the conversation starts with publishers and things like that. You get to the end of that, and you're like, okay, we're done. We got the book out. But really, it's like I'm not a musician, but I know how a sustain pedal works on a piano. You know, if you want to hold that note out, you hit the sustain pedal. So that's somewhat what it is with a book launch. Is that you also need to think through with the strategy what happens for that 2 or 3 months after the book launches to continue to have momentum in what you have. So I really think it's primarily pre, but I do see a lot of people give up quickly on the post, and that's where you need to have a strategy to really kick that sustain pedal down the line a bit.
That makes
Super
sense.
interesting.
Mark, what would you consider like your one thing, in all these things you've done? What's the one thing that when you get a chance to do it, that's what really fulfills you, or really makes you feel like you're successful?
Yeah, I think for me, I mean, in the book world, it's the response. Like this book changed my life. This helped me. Those are the things that really motivate me, because you then see that it's not just um, marketing and deadlines and funnels and paid ads. Like all of that stuff can feel very technical. And with us, we're in a space to where we're in, for profit, but really nonprofit arenas too. We're faith based, and we don't hide from that. And so for us, it's like that's one of the bigger payoffs with that. And I would also say, like, in what we do for challenges and continuity programs, being able to read the back end of how people say, like, a light bulb like went off, that's the stuff that makes you feel like, for me, it really motivates me to keep going, because we're not just providing information, but we're really helping people make pivots and changes and drastic turns in their life. So that's always a big payoff for me.
Nice. I like hearing that.
That's cool. That's cool.
Tell me your best story, something you learned or taught.
Yeah. So, man, I thought about a lot. I will say this, because this is kind of a unique story to me, and it's really about how I became an entrepreneur, a business owner. I had, and there's no really right or wrong answer to this, but I didn't know there were alternative ways to make money. My mom, I grew up, my mom, single mom. So, her viewpoint of life was, go to your job, clock in, clock out, be faithful. Don't, which I got a lot of value out of that. I still have a good work ethic, but as a result, I really didn't know that anything else was out there. And so, long story short, I was working for the Potter's House, working for Bishop Jakes, and the pace is like ridiculous. I mean, it's like you're marketing a book one day and a movie the next, and a conference that has 100,000 people the next. Like, it's just like, I mean, it just never stops. But so I'm working that, and I'm on the Dave Ramsey plan. Right? That's me back in the day, trying to save for a house and trying to get $1,000 in my savings. This was years and years ago. So I think I'm winning in that. And then I'm a type 1 diabetic, and I wasn't necessarily taking care of myself the right way. Found myself in the hospital, and for like 3 weeks in intensive care. I remember Bishop Jakes came to the hospital where I was at, and I kind of looked like something going on here that I don't know of. Like, if he's showing up, like, is this about to be the end for me? Kind of thing. My brother and sister, God bless their heart, they're at the end. They're at the foot of my bed while I'm in ICU taking pictures with him. So shout outs to them while I'm in ICU. But long story short, I come out of that, and from a health standpoint, it really helped me change, some habits and things that I was doing, and helped me. It was one of those things, like one of those moments. But I remember when I got home, about 2 or 3 weeks after, I started to get a lot of medical bills in. And the first couple that came in, I was like, all right, I can handle this. I'm on the Dave Ramsey plan. I'm good, right? I'm going to take a little bit to pay these off. A few weeks later, like, they all piled up all at once. There's like $30,000 of medical bills. And I'm like, this was not in the Dave Ramsey plan at all, So, I come from, I'm not a overly, I've been born and raised in church, and I've believe in God. I never shy away from that, but I'm not an overly spiritual person. But I prayed this really simple prayer that night, and I just said, God, if you'll help me get a strategy to pay these bills, like I'll work it, whatever it is. So a couple of weeks later, I got a call from someone who had heard of what I had been doing in the nonprofit space with Bishop Jakes. And he said, "Hey, would you mind helping us?" I was like, "Yeah, absolutely. Let me check and see if my client roster is, if I've got a space," which was zero. So I go over, I meet with them. They want to bring me on. I remember I put my first offer down, which was whatever it was. They asked me if they could shave like $500 off of it, not knowing anything about negotiation. I was just like, sure, it's revenue. It's way more than what I had before. And so I was nervous as heck, but I was like, I think I can help somebody else do this. And we started seeing like big growth, like their Facebook pages started growing and then they were really happy with it. I would take that money that they received that I got from them. This was my first like side hustle. We didn't even know side hustle was a name back then. It was, we just had no clue what it was. But I started paying off my medical bills, and the phone started ringing. People would hear what I was doing. Hey, could you help me with do this? Yeah, absolutely, I could help. I had no contracts. I had no nothing. I was like, I had no website. I was just like, yeah, I can do this. So
Wild
little
West.
by little, what's that?
Said Wild West.
Yeah, it's exactly what it felt like. So fast forward, I look up about 3 or 4 months, and I had paid off all of those bills because I was just so diligent about it, right?
Yeah.
And so I thought, at the end of the day, that was the blessing. Like that was it for me. That was what I wanted. I got exactly what I prayed about. But what I realized is that after all these bills were done, I still had all these clients that were out there. And it turned out to be that moment in my life, going into the hospital, being sick, all those bills, turned out to be the biggest catalyst for me being a business owner that I didn't even realize I could do. And I realized, so for me, from a story standpoint, it's something that's always stuck with me, that when the hard thing comes, when the debilitating thing comes, when the low in life comes, I start asking myself, where's the opportunity in this? Because most of the time, opportunity knocks in chaos. It doesn't knock when everything is really where we want it to be. And so it changed my frame of mind to say, if I'm in a weird space, a chaotic space, if I'm in a space that things don't feel stable, where's the opportunity in this? And so that was one of the things that I always will have with me. It's one of those moments I would never want to go through it again, but man, I'm really grateful that I went through it back then.
I'm curious, what's the through line? So from when you started bringing on all those clients, did you start building up your consulting agency or your company, and after a certain amount of clients, you're like, maybe I should start a company and start doing this full time?
Yeah, so I probably did that for like 4 or 5, maybe a little bit longer, but a few years. I started doing that just while I was still working, and it became really great. But I kept noticing that my focus, my attention was going toward servicing clients and wanting to be in that world. It also came that everything that I had told myself was that I was a strategist, and that was really what my key was. And I had kind of said, well, if you don't have a team, I'm not really able to help you. Like, you got to have a team. But I started finding out that I knew people that did all types of things because of the industry that I'd been in for so long. So I had access to graphic designers and web designers and videographers and copywriters and all that. And I was like, well, why not me service people that are asking me for that? Why can't, I know we can do it. And so some of that is really like a mindset change, being able to put the things together. I remember I called this one guy, Ben, you're going to laugh at this, but I called this one guy who had clients galore, right? He was like this guru in the space. And this guy said, hey, I really like what you're doing. I think I could put you in touch with him. And I think he could bridge the gap to help you with things. And so I get on the call and I make this pitch about how this stuff is amazing that I can do, and I can change all these people's lives, and I got this strategy. And he goes, man, I love it. He's like, can you send me your website so I can start taking a look at what you have? And I go, I have to call you back on that, because I had no website. Now, I was telling people how well I could build websites. At that point, I had built the very first DariusDaniels.com for his book. We built it from scratch. We were the first ones to do it, but I didn't have one on my own. And so like, it's like the failure of people asking for things and you go, dang, I should have thought of that. Like, what's your contract? I'll be right back on that. So, answering those questions. And then what happened, Ben, for me was about a year and a half ago, I made the leap and just went completely full time. And what I've learned from being an entrepreneur, and it's different for everybody. To me, the first year is really kind of proving to yourself that you can do it, right? Yeah. It's like, can I make this happen? Can I support my family on all this? I've got 2 kids and a wife, right? So like, starting your own business at 43 is probably not where a lot of, the more that happens, the older you get, the more risk it is to kind of do that. So the first year was like proving I could do it. And then the second year was like perfecting it. Like, can I scale it? Can I put systems in place? Hiring people, all of those things, those were things that I'm in the process of doing now. And every day it's getting up going, how can I scale this? How can I make it work?
That's cool. It's a great story.
Yeah, I like that. That was a great adventure. I really like, opportunity comes out of the chaos. It's a really beautiful saying. And from what I took from it to Savannah's husband, Travis, he told me my new favorite phrase once. It's very similar. It's, you got to make hay when the sun's shining. Never had heard it before. It's my new favorite saying. Very similar, sometimes you just got to take that opportunity as it comes, even if it's in the chaos.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, so you make that hay, Mark. Make that hay all day.
I'm making it.
So I guess, that was a pretty big hurdle, got you to where you started. But what's something you're dealing with now? In our space, technology, marketing, it's pretty fast. It's changing. We have to keep up with things, otherwise we get lost. I know you've already turned into a Chat GPT expert by now, so you're staying relevant to the times. But what seems to be the biggest hurdle you're dealing with now?
Well, I think actually what you're saying about changing with the times, that's a big one. And, the thing about this space, as far as being in the digital, is we don't have a lot of people that went on before. So you don't see people that are like innovators yet in their 60s. We don't know if that group of people, because it moves so fast. And so for me, I'm constantly trying to stay, ahead of the curve. So I do think, leaning into that is a hurdle. But I also think that for me, both in what we do for Dr. Daniels and then even as a business owner, it's really about knowing and being recognizable that what it took to get me here is really not what it is going to take to grow beyond that and keep me. Because for me, it's been raw talent that got me there. I knew how to do this. I knew this strategy. I knew this play. I knew how to work this technology. I can do Facebook ads, right? There's always learning that's difficult. But, if I had to shut it all down now and just focus on doing Facebook ads for people, I'd be okay. I know how to do that. But that's not necessarily the highest and best use for me as it pertains to a business owner, as it pertains to an executive with Dr. Daniels. And so being able to realize that even things that you're really good at may not be the best thing for the organization. You might love it. You might just be amazing at it. So it's really being with partnerships. That's why I love working with people like Collab, because you're able to bring multiple layers to what we do. Right. So I've went into Kajabi before and created funnels and things like that. I know how to do that. But if I'm trying to think strategically about where we're going as a group, as an organization, about what's next, that doesn't allow me a lot of bandwidth mentally to think strategically if I'm inside of Kajabi. And I might love the funnel and I might love the back end, but being able to have somebody like Taryn go, yeah, I got that. I'm taking care of it. It's that's what's needed to help scale and grow what we do. It also being able to have partnerships to let people show you a different way of doing it. So there's been so many times that I've looked at it and said, oh, that's how Taryn does it. I get it. Right. So those are things that I think being able to be cognizant of your own best use. It's easy to delegate something that you hate doing, right? We talk about, and we get on calls, and Aaron is the king of saying delegate and elevate, and I believe in that. So, but can you delegate things that you love doing if it's better for the organization for you to be able to lean into something else? And so
Yeah.
that's a hurdle that I think I'm always challenging myself to do, and to bring people around me like Collab, like other strategic partners. I think businesses as a whole, if you look at industries as a whole and places that grow, there has to be a level of partnership that you bring into your business. Without it, I don't think you're going to see a lot of solopreneurs really do to their level that they can really go to that level that they can without partnerships.
Smart.
I mean, it's absolutely true. What got you here won't get you there, and that's something we'll emphasize with a lot of the people we're working with too. I really like that. And also the question you brought up too, it's not about like whether you love doing something, it's whether you should be doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, other people could do it. Maybe other people will do it better, and you had no idea until you finally handed it off to somebody else.
Yeah.
And so,
And that's the toughest too. It's like we all think we're the greatest at it, you know? And then that's, so it's probably a little bit of ego and all of that. I mean, I'm guilty of it. Like I know I handed something off the other day to somebody, and I just knew it was going to come back worse, and it came back way better than what I would did. And I just humbly had to say, like, "Come on, man, you got it. Give it away. It's fine." You know, some of those discussions, like we used to laugh about, like make jokes about talking to ourselves. But now it's like I do it randomly. Like, come on, bro, just give it away. You're not the best at it. There are people that can do it just as good or better than you. So
That's
yeah.
great.
You know, and talking to yourself is fine as long as nobody else is around to hear.
I do it in my car. Come on, man, get it together, bro.
Well, Mark, it's been fun talking. It's been a joy working with you. You bring a lot to Dharius Daniels group, and definitely see why they got you on their side now. Absolutely. Well, I mean, I could see that before, but I can see it even more.
You're backing that up, like this conversation finally shone light into why they keep me around. Up until then, I was highly questionable until we got to. It's okay, Karen. I don't take it personally.
Good. Any other follow-up questions from anybody?
No, that's great. I love the story. That's such a great beginning to end story. I guess beginning to middle story because it's not really the end yet.
Very true. Very wise, Ben. Thank you. And that's a good thing to end on, Mark. You are in the middle. You're not at the end yet.
Savannah, I haven't really heard from you. Come on.
I think there's a lag in my recording, so I'm kind of hanging in the background. But I have a lot to say, so I can't wait to talk to you more because marketing is something that I get excited about and that I don't know a lot about. So I'm stoked to hear more as we work more together.
So am I. I'm trying to figure it out myself. Thank you, guys. This is really a pleasure. I enjoyed talking to you. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Well, thanks, everybody. We'll see you again on next week's Ops Experts Club. Mark, pleasure having you.
All right. Thanks, guys.
See you guys.
Bye.